Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep on Dr. Wole Kajola,
Oh, yeah.
a Nigerian CEO making waves
I've heard of this guy.
in real estate and hospitality.
Interesting.
What caught my eye was how he credits integrity
Really?
for his success,
Huh.
which is interesting because
Yeah.
those aren't words you usually hear in the cutthroat world of business.
Not at all. That's what makes his deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We have articles profiling his career,
Okay.
his own statements on his philosophy,
Gotcha.
and even analysis of how he's handling Nigeria's tough economic climate.
Really?
It's not just taught. Dr. Kajola has a system.
A system.
Yeah.
It's intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, most people know integrity is important,
Uh-huh.
but how do you actually bake it into a business?
Well, it seems to start with a deep commitment to transparency
Okay.
and client satisfaction.
Right.
For example, his real estate firm, Wole, Kajola and Associates,
I've heard of them.
is known for meticulously ensuring that properties meet client expectations.
Oh, wow. No cutting corners or hiding defects. So it's like instead of the usual real estate dance where the seller tries to gloss over potential issues,
Right.
Dr. Kajola is laying everything out on the table.
Precisely.
Wow.
And the sources suggest this isn't just to be nice.
Yeah.
It's strategic.
Okay.
Think about it. In real estate, reputation is everything.
Right.
By being upfront,
Yeah.
he's building trust,
Uh-huh.
which leads to long-term client relationships and repeat business.
That makes sense. If you know a company's always going to be honest with you,
Like-
even when it might cost them,
Yeah.
you're more likely to stick with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this approach seems to extend to his hospitality ventures as well.
Okay.
At Whitefield
I've
Hotels,
stayed there.
customer satisfaction is paramount.
Okay.
Dr. Kajola and his team regularly review feedback,
Really?
looking for ways to improve and exceed guest expectations.
So it's not just about providing a nice room, it's about creating a genuinely positive experience for guests.
Right? It's about going above and beyond to make people feel welcome and valued.
I see.
In fact, there's an anecdote about how he personally sits down with his team every month
Get out.
to review guest feedback.
Wow.
They analyze what went well,
Uh-huh.
what needs improvement,
Okay.
and if guests feel they're getting value for their money.
Wow. That's a level of detail you don't often see, especially from a CEO. It almost sounds like a Silicon Valley startup
Right.
with all that feedback analysis.
And that's what makes Dr. Kajola so intriguing.
Yeah.
He's blending this very modern, customer-centric approach
Okay.
with a strong ethical core.
But he's doing all of this in Nigeria, right?
It is.
And the economic situation there hasn't been easy.
No.
How has he managed to not only survive, but thrive in that environment?
Well, that's where the system aspect really comes into play
Okay.
to combat rising material costs.
Yeah.
For example, he's adopted modular construction techniques.
Modular construction.
Yeah,
Could you break that down for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term?
of course. Essentially, it involves constructing sections of a building
Okay.
off-site in a factory setting,
Right.
then transporting them to the building site for assembly.
Huh.
This can result in significant cost savings
Uh-huh.
and faster construction times,
Okay.
which are crucial in a volatile market like Nigeria's.
So he's finding ways to be more efficient and cost-effective.
Yes.
Without compromising on quality. Clever.
Exactly. He's also forged partnerships with local suppliers
Okay.
to source affordable materials.
Right.
This not only helps his bottom line, but
Yeah.
also supports the local economy.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
That's really interesting. It seems like he's taking these economic challenges and turning them into opportunities to innovate and give back to his community at the same time.
And that's not all. He's also implemented flexible pricing models at Whitefield Hotels.
Really?
This means adjusting rates based on demand
Yeah.
and offering value-added packages to attract a wider range of guests,
Right.
all without sacrificing profitability.
So he's being adaptable and responsive to the market's needs rather than just sticking to a rigid pricing structure. That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
But I'm curious, while relying on local suppliers might be beneficial in some ways, could it also be limiting?
It could.
I mean, are there potential advantages he might be missing out on
Yeah.
by not exploring international partnerships?
That's a great point. It's certainly a trade-off.
Yeah.
By focusing on local suppliers,
Yeah.
he strengthens community ties and potentially reduces costs.
Right.
However, international partners
Yeah.
might bring access to new technologies or expertise
I see.
that could further enhance his businesses.
It makes you wonder if there's a sweet spot, a way to balance those local connections with the potential benefits of a more global approach.
Absolutely. And that's something to keep in mind as we delve further into Dr. Kajola's long-term vision
Okay.
and his plans for navigating the future of real estate in Nigeria.
Gotcha.
It's clear that he's a strategic thinker,
Yeah.
always looking for ways to adapt and evolve, but is sticking solely to local sourcing really the best long-term strategy?
Good question.
Or are there untapped opportunities waiting in the global market?
I guess that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And speaking of the future,
Yeah,
I'm curious to hear what Dr. Kajola has in store.
me too.
He seems to have a pretty optimistic outlook,
Yeah,
despite all these challenges.
he does. And that optimism is rooted in a vision
Okay.
that extends far beyond just profit margin.
I see.
But to understand that vision,
Yeah.
we need to dig a bit deeper into his
Hi.
philosophy
Right.
and his commitment to something he calls building communities.
Building communities? That sounds intriguing, and I think it's the perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned, folks, because things are about to get even more interesting. All right, so we've established that Dr. Kajola has this unique system built
Right.
on integrity and customer focus.
Uh-huh.
But what's this I hear about building communities?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like it's more than just bricks and mortar for him.
It absolutely is. While he sees Nigeria's growing population and urbanization
Right.
as drivers of future demand in real estate,
Okay.
his vision goes deeper.
Okay.
The articles highlight his belief that real estate isn't just about building properties.
Right.
It's about creating spaces where people can thrive.
So it's not just about providing shelter, it's about fostering a sense of belonging and connection.
Precisely. And this commitment to community
Yeah.
extends to his emphasis on sustainable development.
Right, like.
Both his real estate projects
Okay.
and Whitefield hotels
Uh-huh.
incorporate eco-friendly designs
I see.
and energy-efficient technologies.
It's like he's trying to build for the future, both in terms of meeting people's needs
Yeah.
and being mindful of the environment.
Right. And it's interesting to consider this in light of our previous discussion
Yeah.
about local versus international partnerships.
Right.
While sourcing locally has its benefits,
Uh-huh.
perhaps tapping into global networks
Yeah.
could provide access to even more advanced sustainable building practices and
Right.
technology.
That's a really good point. It could potentially elevate his projects to a whole new level of sustainability.
And that brings us back to this idea of building communities.
Okay.
It's not just about physical structures,
Mm.
it's about fostering an ecosystem of progress.
So is he like actively involved in community initiatives
Yeah.
beyond his business ventures?
The sources suggest
Okay.
he's known for supporting educational programs and
Right.
initiatives that empower local entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
He sees this as a way to create a ripple effect of positive change,
Wow.
uplifting not just individuals,
Right.
but the entire community.
That's pretty impressive. It's like he's taking a holistic approach,
He is.
recognizing that business success is intertwined
Yeah.
with the well-being of the community as a whole.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, how does this community focus play out in the day-to-day operations of his businesses?
That's a great question. One example that comes to mind is his approach to hiring.
Okay.
He prioritizes local talent,
Yeah.
providing job opportunities and
Ah,
skills training
Okay.
within the communities where his projects are located.
So it's not just about creating jobs.
Yeah.
It's about investing in the long-term development
Yeah.
of the local workforce.
Exactly. And that's something we see reflected at Whitefield hotels as well.
Really?
He's implemented training programs for his staff,
Oh, wow.
equipping them with the skills and knowledge they
Yeah.
need to excel in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
He sees it as an investment in their personal growth,
Uh-huh.
which in turn contributes to the success of the hotel.
It's a win-win, isn't it?
It is.
The employees benefit,
Yeah.
the business benefits,
Right.
and the community as a whole benefits.
Precisely. And it all circles back to this core philosophy of integrity
Yeah.
and creating value.
Right.
Dr. Kajola understands that a sustainable business
Mm-hmm.
isn't built solely on profit margins.
Okay.
It's built on strong relationships,
Yeah.
a commitment to community,
Yeah.
and a deep respect for the people he serves.
It's truly inspiring to see someone putting these principles into practice
Yeah,
and achieving such remarkable results.
it is.
Especially in a challenging environment like Nigeria.
Right.
It challenges the notion that you have to compromise your values to succeed in business.
Absolutely. He's proving that you can be well by doing good,
Uh-huh.
and that success is ultimately a measure of the positive impact you create
Right.
on the world around you.
Okay.
But what's equally impressive is his willingness to share his knowledge
Really?
and mentor others in the real estate space.
Oh.
He frequently offers insights
Okay.
on navigating the current economic climate,
Yeah.
encouraging investors to focus on long-term gains
Right.
rather than short-term profits.
Oh, so he's not just a successful entrepreneur. He's
Yeah.
also a thought leader and a mentor.
Yes, exactly. He's actively shaping the conversation around responsible real estate development in Nigeria,
Uh-huh.
encouraging others to adopt a similar approach.
And what about his advice on exploring alternative funding sources?
Oh, yeah.
The sources mention things like joint ventures,
Right.
crowdfunding platforms,
Yeah.
and government-backed initiatives.
Yeah.
Is he suggesting a shift away from traditional financing models?
Not necessarily a shift,
Okay.
but rather an expansion of options.
I see.
He's advocating for a more diversified approach,
Yeah.
recognizing that relying solely on traditional bank loans
Uh-huh.
can be limiting, especially in an unstable economy.
So it's about being resourceful,
Right?
thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
and leveraging all available avenues
Uh,
to secure funding and mitigate risk.
right. He even talks about the importance of building strong relationships
Okay.
with local communities
Uh-huh.
and engaging them as stakeholders in development projects.
I see.
This can not only foster trust,
Yeah.
but also potentially unlock alternative sources of funding and support.
It's like he's wheeling together all these different elements, ethics,
yeah.
community, sustainability, innovation,
Yeah.
into a really cohesive and powerful approach to business.
It's quite remarkable, actually,
Yeah.
and it speaks to his adaptability and resilience.
Right?
He's not just reacting to challenges.
Uh-huh.
He's proactively seeking solutions that benefit not just his businesses,
Right.
but the broader community as well.
He's not afraid to embrace new ideas
Yeah.
and challenge conventional thinking.
Yeah?
He seems to understand that true success lies in creating value for everyone involved.
Right.
Not just for himself, but it makes you wonder, how sustainable is this model in the long run?
Mm.
Can he maintain this level of commitment
Yeah.
to integrity and community as his businesses continue to grow?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's something we'll explore as we delve into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll examine the potential challenges he might face
Right.
and whether his model can truly serve as a blueprint for ethical and sustainable business growth,
Uh-huh.
not just in Nigeria, but potentially on a global scale.
That's something I'm definitely eager to unpack. Stay with us, folks, because there's still much more to discover about Dr. Kajola and the impact he's creating in the world of Nigerian business. But before we move on to that,
Yeah.
I think it's worth pausing for a moment to reflect on something quite profound
Okay.
that's emerged from our conversation so far.
Okay.
It's this idea that success isn't just about profit margin
Right.
or market share.
Uh-huh.
It's about building something meaningful.
Yeah.
Something that makes a positive difference in the lives of others.
You've hit on a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Dr. Kajola's story reminds us that business can be a force for good,
Uh-huh.
a catalyst for positive change.
And that's a message I think we can all take to heart,
Yeah.
regardless of our industry or profession.
Right.
But now let's delve into the final chapter of Dr. Kajola's journey and see
Okay.
what lessons we can glean for the future of ethical and sustainable business. So we've explored Dr. Kajola's unique approach to business, but one question keeps nagging at me.
What's that?
Can this model really last? I mean, can you stay sure to these principles of integrity and community
Yeah.
as your business grows, especially in a competitive market like Nigeria's?
It's a valid concern, and to be honest, there's no easy answer. The sources don't offer a crystal ball prediction,
Right.
but they do hint at potential challenges
Okay.
and opportunities.
Okay, let's talk challenges first. What are some of the hurdles Dr. Kajola might face as he tries to scale his businesses?
Yeah.
While staying true to his values.
One potential challenge is maintaining consistency as his companies expand.
Okay.
Right now, he's very hands-on, involved in everything from customer feedback reviews
Uh-huh.
to local supplier partnerships.
Right.
Will that be sustainable as his operations grow larger and potentially more complex?
It's like that classic dilemma. How do you keep the heart and soul of a small business as you become a bigger player?
Yeah.
I imagine that takes a lot of careful planning
Yeah.
and delegation without losing sight of your core values.
Exactly. He might need to create systems and processes that embed his values into the very fabric of his companies.
Yeah.
So it's not just reliant on his personal oversight.
Right.
And that's where things get tricky.
How so?
Well, the sources suggest that Nigeria's business environment
Uh-huh.
can be, shall we say, less than straightforward.
Really?
There might be pressure, both internal and external, to compromise on certain principles
I see.
for the sake of expediency or profit.
So it's like staying true to your values is easy when it's just you making the decisions.
Right.
But when you have investors, partners,
Yeah.
and maybe even government officials
Uh-huh.
with their own agendas, it becomes a whole different ballgame.
Precisely. And that's where his commitment to transparency and clear communication
Yeah,
will be truly tested.
right.
He'll need to find ways to bring everyone on board with his vision,
Uh-huh.
demonstrating that integrity isn't just a moral stance. It's a smart and sustainable business strategy.
It sounds like he needs to be as savvy a negotiator and relationship builder as he is an entrepreneur.
He does.
But let's flip the script for a moment.
Okay?
What about opportunities?
Oh, yeah.
Are there ways his model could actually become even more powerful as he grows?
Absolutely. One opportunity lies in becoming a thought leader and a model for others.
Okay.
As he achieves greater success, his story could inspire other businesses
Right.
to adopt similar values-driven approaches.
Yeah.
Imagine a whole generation of Nigerian entrepreneurs embracing integrity and community as
Wow.
core principles.
It's like instead of just building businesses, he's building a movement.
Yeah,
And that's a legacy that could have far-reaching impact.
exactly. And there's another potential opportunity, global expansion.
Really?
If he can prove that this model works
Yeah.
in a challenging market like Nigeria,
Uh-huh.
it could be incredibly appealing to international investors and partners
I see.
who are looking for ethical and sustainable business ventures.
So the very things that make his approach unique in Nigeria
Right.
could actually become his competitive advantage on a global stage.
Precisely, think about it.
Yeah.
In a world where consumers are increasingly demanding ethical sourcing and social responsibility,
Right.
Dr. Kajola's approach could be a breath of fresh air.
I see.
It could position him as a leader
Uh-huh.
in a new kind of global capitalism,
Wow.
one that's not just about profit,
Right.
but about purpose and impact.
That's a powerful vision.
It is.
But let's be real, isn't there a risk that as he scales globally,
Yeah.
he might lose touch with those local roots that
Oh.
have been so central to his success?
It's definitely a valid concern. Maintaining those deep community ties
Yeah.
while operating on a global scale
Right.
will require careful consideration
Uh-huh.
and a commitment to staying grounded in his values.
Okay.
He might need to create structures that ensure those local partnerships and initiatives
Yeah.
remain a core part of his business,
Right.
even as he expands internationally.
It sounds like walking that tightrope between global ambition and local impact
Yeah,
will be one of his biggest challenges.
it will.
And it'll be fascinating to see how he navigates it.
It will.
But you know what strikes me most about Dr. Kajola's story?
What's that?
Is that it's ultimately a story about hope.
Hope.
Yeah.
In what sense?
Well, it's hope that you can be successful in business
Uh-huh.
without compromising your integrity. Hope that you can build something that benefits both your bottom line and your community.
Yeah.
And hope that even in a world that often feels cynical and driven by self-interest,
Right.
there's still room for idealism and purpose.
I think you've captured the essence of what makes Dr. Kajola's story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we have choices,
Mm.
that we can shape the kind of businesses and the kind of world we want to live in.
Right?
And that's a message that resonates deeply, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur
Yeah.
or someone trying to make a positive difference in your own corner of the world.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Dr. Wole Kajola,
Yeah,
we leave you with a challenge to think about how you can bring more integrity,
right.
purpose, and community focus into your own lives and work.
It's been a true pleasure exploring this fascinating story with you.
Likewise.
And I hope our listeners have found it as insightful and inspiring as we have.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep believing in the power of doing good.